Hello, English language learners. This is Alan, your English coach, back again with another installment of Pronunciation Practice, a series of short videos to help English learners improve their pronunciation. We are approaching, at long last, the end of our little mini-series on the sound schwa, which is arguably the most common sound in the English language. By now, if you've been watching from the beginning of the mini-series, and this is installment 7 or 8 maybe even, you know quite a lot about the sound schwa, when it is used, when it is not used, what letters can sound like schwa, and under what circumstances. Syllables which are not emphasized, which do not have a sort of stress put on them. Let me give you an example. My name, Alan, two-syllable word. If you have been paying attention to English for a while, you recognize almost immediately that the stress is on the first syllable. It's a word that consists of two syllables, al and n. So al, the A sounds like one of the standard sounds that A can have in English. But you notice that I don't say Alan, Alan, or Alain, or Alon. That's because the second syllable, the AN syllable, is not stressed. And very, very often in English, when a syllable is not stressed, the vowel in that syllable takes on a schwa sound. So if we were going to write my name phonetically, it would be spelled A-L schwa-N. It's pretty simple, right? Let me give you a classic example, which will hopefully make some things clear, but it might be a little bit confusing as well. Not because of schwa. Schwa is very easy sound to make, and once you recognize where it's used, it's easy to recognize those places and to use it there. But, well, you'll see in a minute why it's a strange example. The word photograph. There, now we have a three-syllable word. Pho is the first syllable, and that happens to be the syllable which is emphasized. Graph has a secondary emphasis, so the O, the first O, and the A both sound like one of the standard sounds that those letters make in English. But notice that the second O does not sound like ah, it does not sound like o. Photograph. There you hear our friend, with whom we're very familiar now, schwa. Now this is where it gets interesting, because when we add certain endings to the word photograph, let's assume we want to talk about the person who makes a photograph. We want to add an ER to the end of that word. Now notice what happens when I say it normally. Notice where the schwas end up and where the emphasized syllables are. Photographer. Interesting. Now it's that second syllable, or the first O, which takes on one of the standard O sounds. Tog, fur. So now we have two schwas in one word, a four-syllable word. Fur. It gets even more interesting when, instead of adding an ER, we decide to turn the word photograph into an adjective by adding the letters IC at the end. Now we have the word photographic. It's a little bit closer to our first word, photograph, except now I think you can hear that the emphasis is really on the third syllable, that A sound, photographic. Now our first O goes back to sounding like a normal O in English, and our second O goes back to sounding like schwa, photographic. And the I, well, that doesn't sound like much at all. Schwa. Schwa doesn't sound like much at all. So we have photograph, photographer, and photographic. Fun. So Look at some words that you know that have more than one syllable. The first thing, of course, will be to figure out which syllables are emphasized if there's more than one. Sometimes in English, as you saw, there's more than one syllable which gets emphasized. And then notice how the syllables that are not emphasized, those vowels will almost always take on a schwa sound. See if you can find some samples of words like that in your life, in your daily conversation with people, especially with native speakers, or listening to videos, music, etc. And if you have any questions about this or suggestions for future episodes, please do leave me a message in the comments below. I'm always happy to respond to those and entertain ideas that listeners might have. Meanwhile, I hope that you have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.